Hey, happy Hunger Games, everybody. I'm sure a lot of you have gone out and seen the movie that came out this week. I am still waiting to catch it. But I downloaded a couple of the badges from the various districts onto my Nook. This one's District 5 Power. Just killing some time. I thought they looked pretty cool. But anyway, maybe I'll show you some more as they pop up on my Nook. Just here today with my March wrap-up of the books I read for the month. To start with, no pun intended, The Starters by Lissa Price. That was her debut novel. I gave this particular book 4 out of 5 stars. And in addition to that, I also read an ebook, and it's in novella in the same series, and it's called Portraits of a Starter. This particular ebook I gave just 2 out of 5 stars. I did a review on both of these together, and you can check those out on my channel if you want some more information on what I thought of those, or the reason I gave the ratings for it. In addition to that, and I'm going to bring up the other book I read, or I should say ebook. So I get the cover to come up. Content. Hello. Cover. This is part of the Delirium series. It's Hana, and that's again a novella that was part of Lauren Oliver's books. This one I gave 3 stars out of 5. I did enjoy it. There was some revealing information about the character of Hana in it, which made it worth reading. But in terms of the content, I mean, I wish there was more of it. I'd say half of this particular ebook is like the first chapter or so, like a sneak peek of Pandemonium. So I really would have liked a little bit more, but what was revealed in here was worth reading, so I'm glad I didn't download that. So that's the other one I read. My other planned book was Kim Harrison's A Perfect Blood. Now this is number 10 in the Hollow series, and I think you've heard me on a couple of the past videos I downloaded how much I love this series. It's about Rachel Morgan. She's a bounty hunter, and along with Ivy Tamwood, who's a vampire, and Jinx, who's a pixie, they run a company called Vampiric Charms. And in this particular book, it begins with Rachel in hiding. She's escaped from the Ever After, and the demons there believe that she's dead, including Al, one of the demons that she's had a lot of contact with. And to stay in hiding, one of her nemesis, she has this evolving relationship with this particular guy, but his name is Trent. He's on this side of the lines on Earth. He's provided her with this enchanted band silver that she wears around her wrist. And what it does is it prevents the demons from sensing her through the ley line. So as far as they know, she's dead, and that's how she wants to keep it that way. During the course of the events in this story, a series of ritualistic murders take place, and there's these corpses found. And her and her team are brought in to try and investigate it and to see who's doing this. During the course of the events, she realizes that this enchanted band of silver may protect her from the demons, but it also prevents her from connecting to these ley lines, which she uses to draw power from to perform magic. So she's virtually defenseless. She can't protect herself, and she's not able to protect those around her, particularly her friends. And I think through the course of this book, you see her kind of coming to the realization she has to accept who she is and make a change. This particular book seemed to focus a lot on the Rachel and Trent characters, kind of at the expense of Trent and at the expense of Ivy and Jinx. Characters, I really like Ivy, Jinx, and Rachel's relationship and their interaction with each other, so I kind of missed that through most of this book. Ivy, to me, it was practically non-existent. Jinx played a little bit more of a role, but again, it was mostly between Rachel, accepting who she is and everything, and you'll find out more when you read the books. I don't want to say too much and do any spoilers for people who haven't read the series, but it's mostly between Trent and Rachel in this book, and although I like to see that, like to see what's going on with those characters, I wanted more of what I'm used to. And also the beginning part with Rachel and this band of silver that stops her powers, it makes her pretty useless and ineffectual. She's always been the kick-ass, no-nonsense, I mean business kind of witch, and you miss that through this first book. I like that about her character. I like how strong her character is. And so I kind of missed that, and for that, I'm only giving it 4 out of 5 stars as opposed to, I think, the entire series. And also because it's a little more fresh in my mind. The other books I'd read quite some time ago as they were released, so in just a distant memory, I know I enjoyed them all, so I gave them pretty much 5 out of 5. But this one being more fresh in my memory, and I could kind of pick apart the parts I liked and didn't like, I rated it down just 1 star, but still, well worth the read. I understand this may be the second to the last book, and she's working on the last one in the series. So it'll be sad when that one comes out, but looking forward to see what else the author comes up with, and of course looking forward to that last book. That's the ones I had planned to read. I'd also planned on reading Michael Grant's Berserk. That didn't happen. And if possible, I was going to read Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. That also didn't happen. And the reason was a couple other books just sort of like fell into my lap and became available, and I kind of jumped on them. So one of those, and I don't have a physical book of it because I downloaded the audio copy from my local library, and that was Shiver, Book 1 in the Wolves of Mercy Falls by Maggie Stiefvater. I've been wanting to read this I heard it was like, a werewolf type story, and I kind of went in with some preconceived ideas of what I thought this was going to be like. I like my werewolf stories kind of on the lines of Underworld, violence, lots of action, somewhat humanistic looking werewolves. They stand up on their 2 feet and rip apart things, This one, totally different book. It's told from the point of 2 different people, a male and a female character, Grace and Sam. Now, in the beginning of the story, we find out that Grace was attacked by wolves when she was younger, and she managed to survive with the help of a particular wolf that showed up. And each winter, she sees this wolf off in the distance in the woods behind her house, and she's strangely drawn to it, and always seems to be, watching her. And she always refers to it as, like, her wolf. And through the course of the story, she meets this boy named Sam, who's worked in various odd jobs around town. And she's also drawn to him, and we find out a lot more about his character. And it's interesting that each, listening to it was kind of neat because I heard it in the female and the male voice. And they'll bring in each chapter, Grace, and then it says a temperature, like 45 degrees. And the temperature is important in this story because that's what causes the people to change into wolves. Is if it gets too cold, that triggers the change. It's not a case of full moon comes out and that's when it happens. So this is totally different. This is more of a human transformation into wolves, not a human transformation into your typical werewolves. It was more of a romance story, but I just thought the pacing was exceedingly slow. It's a good thing I wasn't falling asleep because I was listening to this while I was driving to and from work. It had, Grace was kind of interesting, but it just seemed to drag a lot. Not a whole lot seemed to happen. I'm probably going to go ahead and continue, if I get the chance to download book 2 and 3 from my library, I'll listen to it just to kill time on the road, but I only gave this about a 3 out of 5 stars. I know some people really loved it. I am in the other case. It was okay. Enough that I want to continue it, but wasn't super thrilled. And then, through this one website, it's Edelweiss. It's sort of along the lines of NetGalley, where you can download electronic arcs of books. I myself am a bookseller, so I have access to this particular site. And I was able to come across this book by Elizabeth Norris, entitled Unraveling. And this one is the story of Janelle Tenner. She's a 17-year-old high school student, and at the beginning of the book, she's hit and killed by a pickup truck. You wouldn't think that's much of a story for a main character, and she's dead. But shortly after, she wakes up, finding this boy named Ben Michaels standing over her, and she knows without a shadow of a doubt that he has somehow brought her back to life. She's seen this kid around school, who's kind of a loner, she's never really talked to him, but all of a sudden, boom, there he is, and he has saved her life. And before she has a chance to even find out how or what he did to her, he runs off. But she's full of questions and determined to get some answers. What she also learns about this particular accident, the pickup driver had very severe radiation burns, and so severe that he should have been dead already, let alone driving a pickup truck. So she's curious to see, who is this guy and what happened to him? And her father happens to be an FBI agent, and she's poked around in his files before. She's managed to hack into the computer, and she pokes around there to see if she can find out anything. And what she finds out really surprises her. Apparently, there have been other deaths from severe radiation poisoning around town. And her father's been investigating this, and they can't figure out what's causing this or who these people are. They're really almost unidentifiable. It's so bad. But in addition to that, apparently there's also some sort of device that's been found. And it's got a countdown. and it's counting down. It's about 15 days are showing currently on it. It's counting down from that, but counting down to what? And she wonders if somehow all of this is tied together. The radiation, the countdown. All of a sudden, this boy who's got these strange powers, could that have somehow be the cause of some of these radiation burns? So she's determined to find out some answers. This book had wonderful pacing in it. This is a debut novel by Elizabeth Norris. It kept me riveted from beginning to end. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the character of Janelle. She's been through a lot. She has this bipolar mother who's pretty much useless as a mom. She's not very involved, spends a lot of time just in bed. And her father who's kind of keeps his distance from the whole situation because he almost can't handle it himself. So he buries himself in work. And she has been like the sole caregiver to her younger brother. She's pretty much been his parent. And now here she is trying to figure out, you know, same along as her dad, what's going on with this countdown. And she gets some help from her next door neighbor, Alex, who's a very good friend of hers. It's her best friend. And he's a really good character too. I enjoyed their interaction and how they're able to try and, you know, uncover this information. I gave this particular book a 5 out of 5 stars. It is not yet released. I don't, unfortunately, have the release date. I forgot to check that before I hopped online. I thought the tagline one on here was kind of funny. It's slightly cheesy in the book. Stop the countdown, save the world. It's a little bit like Heroes, you know, save the cheerleader, save the world. But this book isn't quite along the lines of Heroes. I would say more like the combination of 24 meets Fringe. If you haven't seen the Fringe TV show, definitely watch it. It's awesome. But love the sci-fi elements, love the pacing, love the characters. And I also hear it's going to be a sequel to this as well. So I'm looking forward to that. So that kind of wraps up all the books I've read. Not going to go into a whole lot of what I plan on reading for the next month. I'm even probably not going to be reading Berserker Pandemonium. I think last time I kind of tried to do that. Then I got in the mood for something else, and I felt compelled I had to read these. But I won't go into like a plan ahead of time, other than to say what I am currently reading is also another book I got from Edelweiss, which I was extremely thrilled with, and I'll have to show you just on a piece of paper because I can't bring up the cover of my Nook, is Daniel Marks's Velveteen, and the cover's like awesome. That's not so blurry there. And this is about a young girl who is killed by a serial killer, and she's determined to seek revenge from purgatory. And it's pretty quirky. I've already read just about, I'd say about 40 pages of it. I love the description of how she moves in and out of purgatory. It's pretty cool, but I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I'm just going to tell you that's what I'm reading now, and it's pretty awesome. So, hope you enjoyed it. What are you guys reading? Put it down in the comments. I'd love to know. Love to know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. And here's another Hunger Games. Look, we're number 6. This is Transportation District. Anyway, I'm hoping to see that movie pretty soon. Take it easy and happy Hunger Games.